Hi, my name is Jackie Callis, and I am a living liver organ donor. My journey started in October October 2021, maybe September actually. And if I actually think about it, it probably goes back to late spring when my sisters and my cousin and I had this idea to send our parents out west to Alberta to visit their brother who's was going through some hard times, and also they wanted to see their niece Carolyn. It ended up being quite reasonable, so we surprised our parents with tickets to go out west. For it was around the time of my parents' wedding anniversary in September, so off they went in September. And actually, it was just before my parents left and my aunt left to go out west that my uncle contacted my mom and said, listen, you're going to be quite shocked when you see Carolyn, who is my cousin. She's really ill. She didn't want anybody else in the family to know, but she's got very bad liver disease now. So that obviously they were very shocked because she was this beautiful spirit that you could tell obviously that she was very ill with liver disease. So they had a great visit, and it ends up my parents came home and they explained to me what was going on with Carolyn. And my mom said to me, she is she did say that she is a candidate for a live donor because she was already on the list for a deceased donor. So obviously, if she could find a match and a live donor, then that perhaps would obviously speed up the process. So without any kind of hesitation, I said to my mom, I said, you know what? If I'm a match, I'll do it. It wasn't even a second thought. I don't know why, but it just wasn't. Carolyn is an older cousin of mine, and they actually grew up, or she lived in Georgetown when she was a kid. She's a few years older than I am, and we would always get together for family functions and occasions and things like that. She wasn't a stranger to me. We had always kept in touch through social media and things like that. It really was a no-brainer decision for me. So I had contacted Carolyn, I texted her, and we chatted, and I said, Carolyn, I wish you had said this before. I said, what's your blood type? And she said, B positive. And the the hair on my arms stood up literally. My heart started racing, and I said, Carolyn, we're the exact same blood type. We were B positive. So from there was a few tears shed there, and she was very grateful, and I was really honored to be able to at least start this process to see, because nothing is a guarantee as you go through this process, as I found out going through the process. But she was obviously very grateful, and I contacted the organ center coordinator for Alberta, which was in Edmonton. So I contacted them the very next day, filled out the form. They called me that day. And so the process started. So basically, what I had to do, because I was out of province, a lot of the tests and such were coordinated with my family physician in Pickering. And so I was able to do all like the initial things like blood tests and ultrasounds and x-rays and all those types of things. So I did all those types of things here. And once I passed those steps, the coordinator out in Edmonton, she contacted me and said, okay, so far everything looks really good. We're going to have you come out to Edmonton for a CT scan and an MRI and to meet the surgical staff here and the nursing team and social work. So that happened. That didn't actually happen till November. So I was able to go out to Edmonton in November, and I did all that. I was out there for 3 days, did all the tests, met everybody. They were fantastic. The surgical team was amazing. And so everything looked really good up to that point. And then a couple of weeks later, I had an appointment with the surgeon again, and he was really happy with my scans and said that I was a great match. And obviously, because of COVID, things were, and in Alberta, I think things obviously were bad there as well. So they were just starting to open up their surgical rooms for surgery. And that was December. So they told us that they were looking at January 10th of 2022 for my cousin. My nursing coordinator out in Edmonton said that every week the team meets, they go through um, the donation side and the recipient side. They talk about it, all the cases and the potential donors and things like that. So it was a Thursday. I'll never forget it. My uncle called me. I think it was, I can't remember the day. I just remember it was a Thursday because I was lining up to get a COVID booster. And he called me and he said, he goes, Jackie, you're not going to believe this. There's a deceased donor for Carolyn. And I was just like in shock. It was because that very day they were going to remove her from the deceased list and lock her into the surgical date of the January the 12th. So it was very exciting. And I had called Carolyn on my way back from getting my shot, and we cried a lot of tears that during that phone call because she was extremely grateful to be getting a full organ. And she said, I'm so lucky. I had two opportunities to have this transplant, and she was extremely grateful and emotional about the fact that I stepped forward. And I didn't see it that way. To me, it felt like it was the right thing to do, especially for me consciously and for her health as well. A couple of days later, they deemed the liver viable. So they did they flew her from Calgary to Edmonton, and they did the transplant, and things went pretty good. The liver started to function, and we had spoken together a couple of times over FaceTime while she was in hospital. And despite the liver starting to work, she was very sick when she did have the transplant, and she just wasn't getting any better. And so she had the surgery that time, that around December, and unfortunately she never left the hospital. She did pass away on February the 6th in 2022 in hospital. So it was very sad, a very sad occasion, Carolyn's passing. So it was quite a shock because the liver was starting to function, but she did end up passing away of a heart attack. During the time that Carolyn was in hospital, we were speaking, and I was speaking with her and with the coordinator out in Edmonton because to be honest, I was having a really hard time. I think it was a hard time dealing with the fact that I felt, for me, it was like an unfinished business, if that makes sense. I was talking to Carolyn about it through FaceTime when she was in hospital, and I said, I was extremely happy for her that she was able to have this surgery. But I said to her, I said, Carolyn, I feel like I have unfinished business. And I talked to her about me potentially staying on the donor list as an anonymous donor. And she was in awe, and she said she was so proud and thought it was amazing. And so I had to speak with the coordinator out in Edmonton about staying on the list, and I got more information about that and what that entailed and what that would look like. Because I was going to be staying on anonymously, I had to speak with a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist deemed that I would be able to stay on the donor list out there as a anonymous donor. And so I had made that decision, and then I had to talk to my family about that decision. And I'm on my own. I'm a single parent of two kids. At the time, they were 19 and 17. And so obviously they knew what was going on with my donation with Carolyn. And they were, I'll be honest, my kids were, even though they're older, they were a little worried, but they said that they were very proud of me. And if they were in that position, they would do the same thing, which kind of made me feel proud too. So I talked to my parents about it, and my aunt actually, who my family is very close with, she happened to be here that day, and I had a discussion with them about the reasons why. And they were a little taken aback by my decision, to be honest, but I explained to them why I wanted to stay. And the big reason for me was it did feel like unfinished business. And I felt like for me, going through that entire process of being like all the screening and all the tests and all the meetings, and it just felt to me, and then the surgical team saying to me, yes, you're a great surgical candidate. Um, it just seemed to me like, oh my gosh, what, almost like almost like what a waste. I feel like there's somebody who's out there that's sick that I could help as well. So that was the whole reason why I decided to stay on as a anonymous donor. So in Edmonton, my nursing coordinator contacted me once I was approved to stay on the list to be an anonymous donor. And she contacted me and she goes, Jackie, she goes, we don't have anyone on the list with that we could give your liver to at the moment. Did you want to transfer to Toronto? And I said, that kind of makes sense. There's probably need in Toronto, obviously, as well. And it's close to home for me. So I said, yeah, sure. So they transferred my file that day out to UHN, and they contacted me that day with the form to fill out, just like I did out in Edmonton, and I filled out the form. And then the next day, a nursing coordinator called me and she said, would you be willing to be a donor? It all happened really fast. By the time this happened, I think this was like late February, early March of 2022. So everything moved super fast once everything got transferred to Toronto. And I didn't have to do any of the testing. I did some blood work. That was it. So I didn't have to repeat any of the scans or anything like that. So that was good. That's probably why everything seemed so fast. And then I met Dr. Cattrall, who did my surgery, and the Elena, the nursing staff. I met everybody at UHN who was fantastic and amazing and so supportive and so caring. I just think everybody on that team are like our earth angels, truly. So I met everybody and things really went from there. I showed up for the surgery and everything went really smoothly. The surgery was long, but I recover in terms of recovery. Honestly, I went back to work half time because I'm a physical education teacher. So I went back and did my guidance position in the afternoons and then went from there. So everything went really well. I was really happy with my decision. Everything so far is really good with my health. I feel really grateful to be able to have helped someone that I don't even know. We've communicated a few times through the transplant center via either email or cards. So our anniversary is approaching in a couple of days as we record this. So I know it's a gentleman. I have something for him to mark the occasion, but looking back, I feel like it was a great decision for me to be able to help somebody because I'm grateful that I have my own health, and to be able to give back in that way is, for me, I feel really blessed to be able to do that. If someone had said to me, I don't know, before this even happened, that you would be an organ donor to someone that you don't even know, I would have thought they were a little bit off their rocker. I've known about organ donation for many years. I've been giving blood since I was a teenager, since I was able to. I had signed my organ donor card, all those types of things for if I was to pass. I donated my organs. So it wasn't like a new concept to me, but the whole going through the whole donation process with the live liver donation was truly like a life altering experience for me. So that's my story. It's a long one, sorry about that. But in sharing my story, I hope that other people can see, uh, obviously, the benefits of giving this gift to people who might otherwise not be able to live and have their lives. I think for me, after I went through the whole process and I had healed and I spoke with my nursing team, connected me with Paula, and we were able to talk about different ways to spread awareness, because now that I had gone through the process, I thought, for me, this isn't it. There's more that I can do. I'm an educator and I would like to use that voice to spread the word about organ donation and how important it is. So when I was speaking with Paula, she connected me with the school outreach program. So that was one of the first things I did. I feel like using my voice, I think sometimes people think that they really don't have any power, when in fact, just sharing your story, you just never know who it's going to affect or what the ripple effect is going to be. So for me, I think I just want to throw it out to the universe and let others know what happened, and whatever happens. And the funny thing about this is one of my colleagues came to me actually a couple of weeks ago, and she says, I think I'm going to do this. I think I want to be a liver donor. So I was like, I started to cry in my office, and I've known this colleague of mine for years. We've worked at the same school, and I was so touched that she was touched by my story. And it's something that she said, because she's a healthy person and it's a way for her to give back. And I think a lot of people think, and it is, I'm not going to lie, it is a major surgery. But um, when Dr. Cattrall went over the statistics, and the surgical team went over the statistics with me in Edmonton, it is a huge decision. But if it's something that you feel within your heart that you can go through with, I would strongly encourage anyone to find out more information, to ask questions, to get involved somehow. So I think for me, that's the best way that I could help spread the word, is just use my own kind of platform that I have as an educator, and just by leading by example as well. If anyone's considering it, I would definitely support of family and friends is really important. And a lot of times actually, when I was going through this whole process, when it first started, people I know or friends, they were like, really? I didn't know that you could do that. And I was like, yes, you can. So my background is phys ed, so physical education. So I have some knowledge of anatomy and physiology and all that kind of thing. So I knew that the liver would regenerate itself. So a lot of people really don't know that. And I really try to hit it home with people that, yeah, like, I'm perfectly fine. I have a scar that I'm so proud of. I helped save somebody's life, and he's extremely, obviously, grateful. His family is grateful. Dr. Cattrall told me a story after I think it was my first post-op appointment. He told me, he goes, Jackie, the day of your surgery, I went over to the other side because obviously they keep you separate, but and I spoke with him and his wife, and they were crying with tears of joy. They were so grateful, and I just thought, wow, that's it's an incredible feeling to be able to do that for somebody, to give them like a second chance of life. Very incredible. I think for me, I think this has been a process that has changed my life, that if I could tell people, it is life changing in a way that is good, that in a world where sometimes we see a lot of negativity, this is one way to spread kindness and awareness. I also think that what you all do at the Center for Living Organ Donation is amazing by getting the word out and spreading the word for people who are recipients and who are donors, and getting the word out that this is something that it's may seem it is like a long road, and I would advise people considering this to be patient. Uh, but it's it's I can't even begin to explain like how rewarding this has been, and how the ripple effect, and how my own kids went on beadonor.ca and signed off on organ donation, and they talk about it with their friends, and it's just nice to have uh, to see the positive ripple effect of something that one person can do, and I'm just one person, so imagine what everybody else at who's donated a kidney or part of their liver, what the ripple effect of what they've done. So it's really, for me, a really amazing, it's been a really amazing experience, and I'm so proud to be a part of it.